Hello, everyone, and welcome to TEP Talks Professional Series, a groundbreaking new podcast dedicated to showcasing the diverse career journey and professional accomplishments of TEP alumni, brought to you by the TEP Foundation. I am your host, Stan Silverman, URI Class of 79, Tau Omega 402. It's my privilege to speak to TEP brothers across a wide spectrum of industries, gaining insights into their fields, advice for breaking in, and a realistic look at the day-to-day work behind some of the most impactful careers in the modern economy. Personally, I found so many of the brothers with whom I spoke to have such interesting stories. I'm sure that in addition to the educational benefit that you will gain from watching and listening to these professionals, the stories that they tell are just plain fascinating. So pick one, anyone, or pick them all. I'm certain that it'll be worth your while. Thank you and happy watching. Hello, everyone. Today, I have the good fortune to be speaking with Howard Wolpoff. Howard is a certified sales and business coach. So, without further ado, here we go. Good afternoon, brother.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. So, I see that you went to SUNY Albany.
Long time ago.
And then what happened?
And then what happens? Life in different directions. Sales, marketing, lots of community activity. I worked in baseball for 5 years. I worked in the agency world. I've moved from New York City to Jacksonville, Florida. And then now I'm working on the next generation.
Okay. So, okay, I'm sorry. So you see, start over again. So out of college, you started working in sales?
Out of college, the answer is yes, because everything I've done has had a role in sales. Truthfully, the first start I was a paralegal for a little while, thinking I might want to go to law school, but then
Okay.
actually moved into the sports marketing world in New York City.
And that was when you worked for the team in Brooklyn?
I started working at Chelsea Piers, the
Okay.
sports complex, helping them to construct that. So I was doing volunteer work for the National Hockey League, the NBA, and the World Cup, which was in the United States in '94. And then eventually I made my way to the Brooklyn Cyclones after business school, actually during business school.
Where'd you go to business school?
Boredom.
Okay. So this has been, did you plan this path or did you sort of stumble into it?
The best answer is stumbling into it. I had a sense that after leaving um after leaving school that I wanted to get into sports marketing. And it took a little while to kind of get the background for it since I was a political science major and was doing a lot of different volunteer work. And eventually that led me to some great opportunities with the NHL, and then that relationship fell into the World Cup, and then having that on my resume gave me enough when I applied for this opening opportunity at Chelsea Piers during construction that I got hired.
Okay. Tell me about the Boy Scouts. You worked with the Boy Scouts. I'm a Boy Scout.
I worked briefly with the Boy Scouts when I was working at an agency here in Jacksonville. So the North Florida region of Boy Scouts, we worked on an advertising campaign for them. So it was wow, 26, about 10 years ago at this point. And it really was a very successful campaign, one of the more successful ones they had had in a very long time. And I didn't have I had a role obviously with the executives, not at the Boy Scout level, but I did have people in my community whose children were Boy Scouts that I was able to see kind of the results of what our campaigns did for them with some of the events that they were doing, and especially help facilitate some of their bigger programs. And one Eagle Scout in particular, and the final program that he did to get his Eagle Scout status.
Okay. Do other councils in the Boy Scouts talk to each other and then use the ideas that have been successful in one council, use them in another?
From what I'm told, yes. This was what we did was more of a broader membership drive campaign. So
Okay.
it led people to advertising on different youth focused websites in the Jacksonville area, leading them to a site, leading them to once you shared your where in the city you live, that led you to different councils and thankfully the very good improvement on all levels of membership.
That's great because COVID really knocked the heck out of the Boy Scout memberships.
It was before COVID, but it was yeah, there's a lot of I deal with a lot of different youth organizations in different ways, and some have really sprung back really well and then some, and some really are still hobbling.
Right. So, okay, so what are you doing right now?
So right now I work for an international company called Southwestern Consulting, and we are a sales and leadership coaching organization. So we work with everything from the business owners on a higher level of coaching to the foot soldiers of sales that are some of them have been doing sales for a while. Some of them really is their first job in sales. And it was an opportunity mostly from the company end, but sometimes we do have individuals reach out to help better themselves because for the most part, most salespeople did not go to school to learn how to sell. Sales is something that you kind of find your way into a job. They hire you, they send you off to a phone and off you're running without any type of, you might get trained on this is the product that you're trying to sell, but not how to sell it or how to sell anything in particular. And I know from my experience, I lucked out with some of my initial sales experiences. My first selling experience really was in baseball. So selling baseball really was very easy in Brooklyn, where they hadn't had a team in 57 years to talk about getting involved with the Brooklyn Cyclones. When it came time to the next level of items, I really had to learn more about selling. And eventually I figured things out along the way. But the truth is my greatest knowledge of sales has come over the last 2 years with my training as a coach and the work I've been doing with my clients because I put in systems and strategies that anyone can use for any type of selling, which is valuable. So whether I'm selling insurance, whether I'm selling real estate, mortgages, or the special, my favorite is one of the clients we have, the specific lubricants for big factory machinery to factories to make sure they work. It's all about setting up those meetings, creating those relationships, reading people, and trying to find out what their needs are, as opposed to what you're trying to remove from your inventory.
Okay. I was looking at the CRM, which you mentioned in your bio. It seems very. I owned a jewelry store. I
Okay.
never did business with anybody who used anything nearly as sophisticated as that. If I was lucky, I had a one-on-one relationship with the owner of the company, which I did frequently. But other times I worked with a salesperson, and especially if I had a complaint, it was just disregarded.
Okay, that's not good.
No, no,
That's
it's
not good
not.
at all. That's not good relations at all. Um, CRMs really is breaking down is just a database. It's how people collect information about who they're speaking to. So many of I had a nice run where nobody had a CRM, so I create my own systems in Excel so I can track what I'm doing, who I'm speaking to, all the phone numbers and email addresses that I need to contact with. Or you have some of these better systems that are helping you track your calendar like that. Okay, these you called these people 3 days ago. You need to call them back. You need to you have these contracts pending so that you know that you have work that has to be done to close those deals and make sure that the contract is signed. So it's technology to try to make life easier for you. Um, I use Salesforce, so I have a version on my phone, a version on the computer, and I can make phone calls straight out of my phone by clicking a button and send text messages and this is important because my motto in sales and marketing for my career is people want to be sold to the way they want to be sold to. So just because I'm making a phone call doesn't mean they're going to pick it up. Just because I'm sending a text is that's the way they want to respond. I have my best conversations on LinkedIn with people. It's trying to learn how to read people and helping to speak their language so they're most comfortable in making a decision.
Okay. What is a pipeline?
A pipeline is your list of possible sales that you're tracking, your prospects. So I've met with people, and I'm assuming that John Doe is going to bring in $1,000 in June, and Jane Doe is going to bring in $3,000 in June. And so this tracking this, and I'm the salesperson. I bring it to my manager. They know that I'm expecting $3,000 in revenue in June and $10,000 in revenue in July, and so now you're tracking it. So is it real? Is it not? There are times when salespeople will put on numbers on there, so it looks like they have activity when they don't. I worked for a company was working for Westwood One Radio, and some period before I got there, they had to change their commission structure because they gave commissions based on the contract being signed as opposed to the advertising running on the air. So there were two people they created this complex scheme of creating contracts and creating fake people. And they were getting their pipeline was flowing because all these deals were coming through. But then it came time to run the ad. Oh, we got to push it off for 5 weeks. Oh, we got to push it off for 6 months. And they would never run, but they already got paid. They didn't care. The company cared, and eventually they figured out that none of these contracts were real, and they changed on the company end, they changed the structure of commissions, and on the individual end, those two people still might be in jail.
I was going to, excuse me. I was going to ask you, so now that you're working for Southwest,
Southwestern Consulting.
Southwestern Consulting, thank you. When you look back at your career as a salesperson, do you say, oh my gosh, that was a horrible thing that I did, and now I know so much better?
The answer is yes. Again, I learned so much more, and I see the mistakes that I made. I see the opportunities as a sales director where I could have trained my staff better because of the things I learned. But the 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 biggest lesson I ever learned when it came to sales is because it all comes down to people. It's how you treat people. And I'm a true believer that the customer always right is absolutely false. Is the customer demands respect and needs to be heard. It doesn't mean they're right and doesn't mean they get what they want. And when we so where do you live?
I live in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Okay, so are you familiar with Chelsea Piers in Manhattan?
Yes.
Okay, so when we opened up the gym at Chelsea Piers, so usually you sign up for a gym membership, you have 3 days to decide whether you want to keep it or not and get your money back. For the opening of this one, we did 10 days because of how far it was off the West Side Highway. And these two women, so I was 25 and they were, let's say, in their late 40s, early 50s. And they were determined to win. And I was dictated that they could not, I had to win. They could not win. And they were going to say, this is too far. It doesn't work for us. We want to cancel our membership. And I said, 10 days are past. You can't do it. So they went one round with me, they went a second round with me, and this was in front of the front desk in the big lobby that we had. And they did the third round with me, and I rolled my eyes out of frustration. And they went ballistic, and rightfully so. And I gave them, I think, guest passes. I gave them something. They didn't win, but they got bonus prizes for playing. And I learned a very, very big lesson in life about how you need to give everyone respect, no matter how ridiculous they are or how they're losing their cool and how wrong they are. You have to hear them out, and hopefully your message will get across if you're speaking the right language to them. But that was my biggest lesson in my customer service and sales life.
Okay, that's a good lesson. I will admit that I broke that rule many times.
So it's not an easy one, but it's a very important one.
When you were talking about people questioning sales numbers. Is
Okay.
that what you're talking about, similar to that radio situation?
Yes, because the example I started to give and then the example I went with, they were made up numbers. So when the, a sales leader wants results, they want consistency, and they want honesty. They want to know because sometimes you're getting paid just commission, and sometimes you're getting paid a salary and commission. So if you are not um, really providing value for that salary and you're faking your way through it, that's that. Bottom line is it's theft, but really it's not really morally correct with your responsibilities to the company. So when the sales director is going around, whether it's a table during the sales meeting or in the one-on-ones going through your looking at your pipeline, he wants to know that things are moving, and if they're not moving. So if I have something that's going to close for $10,000 and it's been in my pipeline since January that I said is going to close in March, and now it's the end of May, they want to know why. And there's a few reasons why. There could be a legitimate reason from the company of why they're stalling. They changed directions, and the campaign they were going to run is not going to happen in April. It's going to happen in September. So now this has moved, or they said no, and you lost the deal, and you keep sitting it there, keep it on there because you want to show activity to your boss. That's the problem right there, and that's where you have to make sure that you understand what's legitimate and what's not on a pipeline. If it's not legitimate, it has to get off there, and they have to take their lumps for it.
Okay, that makes sense. Um, so is this, I realize I'm skipping around and I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Is this procedure where you're tracking everything, you're entering it um on your Excel sheet? Is this an expensive thing to set up?
Well, if you're setting it just on an Excel spreadsheet, the answer is no. You have to have the right rhythm and systems, but hopefully at this point in time, you're working for a company that has a CRM. There really is no excuse that anyone can get one. There's some that are really inexpensive. There are some places you can even go work on a free trial for the longest time and not have to pay for anything. So having some sort of tracking system is important, but you also need to make sure that you as an individual have some way you're tracking because you don't want to forget anything. More importantly is if you have a deal coming through and you forget to call the person and then a week goes by and you forget about the deal altogether, you left money on the table and they may not come back. So having this tracked and marking calendars to getting alerts on those days, these are the people you need to call today, is very, very valuable.
Sure it is. Um, yeah, it's just crazy. Some of the sales that I experienced, and you had to chase salespeople around. It's like, what are you, stupid? I isn't this how you make your living?
Yeah, it's you. That's the best way I want to say what I'm saying. Sometimes you run into the right person and you have a conversation and it leads to a sale. Sometimes someone called you and they've piqued your interest, but they may not be the best salesperson, and you're just dealing with them on the phone, and they may be irresponsible. They may not have your best interests at heart. Um, like I worked at a local radio station here in Jacksonville. Like I could easily set it up so that I'm taking the company's money, but can dictate where the spots run in a commercial block so that they're running last all the time. And what that means is, so let's say there's 7 commercials in a commercial block before it goes back to the programming. There's statistics that show the amount of people that switch off a radio station after commercial 1, commercial 2, commercial 3, commercial 4, and then some. So, and then eventually remember to go back to the station that they're listening to when the commercials are done. So if I have you 7th every single time I've taken your money, you're not going to get results from that campaign. But you hope that people don't do that. And there's checks and balances, so that can't happen. But just trying to create an example of sometimes those people that they're just worried about the commission, not worried about what this does for your business and your and your goals in investing in advertising.
Okay. How did you get on all these television programs?
So I worked for an agency here in Jacksonville, Client Focus Media, and they have been doing this over maybe 10, 12 years at this point. They have in their 2-story offices, the first level, they created this TV studio. And first and foremost, it's lead generation for the agency. So they set up this Buzz TV, and because he started off as a newspaper for years, a free newspaper on the wherever you can have a display in a diner, in a restaurant, in a corner, and they're making the money off the advertising, and a lot of the advertisers end up being their clients. So let's step it up a little bit. Here's a video for your website. Here's a video for your social media that looks like you just came off of a TV studio being interviewed about yourself and your business. And initially I had a role with client relations, and then I was also producing these segments, which meant I was trying to get prospecting and clients to go sign up for them. And one day a host did not show up. So I said, go for it. So I had to pretty much, I had a 5-minute interview. I had to grab the person's name, their company, what they did, and just kept throwing softballs at them. Very easy questions to ask. And at the end saying, just tell me what what your website is and where people can find you. And then give a closing to the segment. So I did about 125 of those. I left the agency to go into coaching. About a year later, they called me back, probably end of 20, as they were trying to really figure out how they were going to run their studio again. And they did it all virtually. So it wasn't now local people now. This was national people, because they had a client who sold online advertising. So they were trying to create a media buying relationship for them and create leads for them. So I did that for a couple of years. I did about 400 of those interviews or so. And then I left, and then I got invited back again a year ago, January, for a different type of segment, which ended up being more national again, but really lead generation for the agency. And I stopped doing that at the end of December. So yeah, all told, I did about 600-700 of those interviews. Very quick, 5 minutes is really great for the brain. It keeps the brain fresh, because you got to pay attention, and you have no idea where the question is going to end. So because it's so fast, you need to make sure you're not asking something so abrupt afterwards. So I kind of have 2 or 3 different ways the question can go once I figure out how they're ending, and then I can ask it. And that led me into podcasting. And I've done about 200 episodes of my own multiple podcasts.
What's the name of your podcast?
My most recent one, which is on hiatus, hopefully to be addressed this week, is Sales Momentum. I was using a similar type of strategy. I was using invites on LinkedIn for possible prospects to be guests on the podcast. So when I did one I was working more with small business owners, the small business marketing then and now was the podcast, about 125 of those, and I can get owners left and right. I get no problems getting a business owner who then became a prospect. Trying to get sales vice presidents to respond on LinkedIn was absolutely impossible. I got about 15 or so, and then it was about a year ago I stopped the podcast, and then this summer my goal is to figure out where's the best value of utilizing it, so at least I have that content to play with.
Okay. So is that how your company works? A company will hire your firm to do presentations to their sales force?
We will have uh we'll have conversations with, let's say I'm focusing on the vice president of sales, and we will pitch to them that we can come in and give a customized complimentary sales training workshop for their team. So let's say we're going to do that on June 15th. So on June 5th, I want to schedule an hour plus with that sales leader and talk about sales, get them better understanding what's going on with the team, get an understanding of what kind of help they may need, and because there's two goals with the workshop. One is there are 3 or 4 different techniques that we're going to be teaching in the workshop, but every single time I'm wrapping up a thought, it's introducing sales coaching. So at the end, the quick question is, who wants to sign up for sales coaching to help them grow as a salesperson? But this works the best if you've sold the sales director in that first meeting, and the company has agreed to invest, whether it's paying in full or half or incentives for the salespeople to take part in coaching. And then even better, if the vice president said, I'm going to go into coaching as well, because if the leader says yes, you look pretty bad if you're not going to volunteer to jump in the pool as well. So and that's how this works. And then it's one-on-one coaching for a minimum of 12 months. We're meeting twice a month, and we have different video uh, modules that we just redid. So they're really outstanding with video and information. So if I'm spending some time on prospecting with someone in our session, I will then say, okay, I want you to go over in between this prospecting module so we can talk about a little bit more in the next time that we're meeting.
Okay. Where does your company get the modules from? You produce them in your
They,
television station
they,
yourselves?
they produce it themselves. They're based out of Nashville, and
Okay.
they put it together. A lot of times when either they'll bring in some of the better salespeople, the more veterans, to be on camera for them, or we come in twice a year for meetings. They'll schedule those recordings at that time as well to enhance what's going on. We have a very strong marketing department that rewrote everything just recently.
Okay. So this took you years of working in different kinds of sales jobs. How did you end up with the firm that you're with now?
Um, I was recruited 2 years ago. I was doing individual sales coaching for business owners by myself, independently, and a friend of mine made a connection between me and best way I call him like my mentor in the company, who we spent a couple of months wooing each other, and then I came on in yeah, I'm coming up my 2-year anniversary, June of 24.
Okay. So most of the undergraduates watching this and thinking about a career in sales, when you can't find a job and you start looking in the want ads, which I don't even know if they exist anymore,
Scanning Indeed.
they wonderful opportunity. And then you find out that they want you to sell life insurance or be a financial advisor or other kinds of sales jobs. If an undergraduate was looking at one of these things, where would you advise them to go or not go?
You want to find something that you're passionate about. You want to find something that it's very easy to wake up in the morning and go to work that day. Because if it's at night and you're dreading going to work and you wake up and you really don't have the energy for it and you're sitting there and you're staring at your phone as opposed to making phone calls with your phone, that's not the place to be. So yes, there are times when you are struggling and really need to find something that's going to make money. And granted, if you do well in those industries, you can make a lot of money. You can make a lot of money selling real estate, but there's a lot of people selling real estate. And you really need you really have to have a good network or a good, strong personality to get involved in insurance or financial planning. If you are uh more of I'll sit back and wait for them to find me, you're never gonna get anything accomplished there. So it's really trying to find the right fix. Like I had a passion for sports. Most of the people that get their foot in the door in sports start by selling tickets or they got a job selling sponsorship packages. So you're going to have to learn how to sell to go to get somewhere in those corporate offices of teams and leagues and entities, because that's what it takes. We sold 1 million this year. We need to sell 1.5 million next year. We need to send 10 million the year after that. It's budgets increase and expectations increase.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course they ask you for a list of um all of your friends and relatives when you go to work for some of these companies. And
Hot
then
100,
what's that?
Hot 100.
And
Who are
then you leave and then they start making these phone calls.
Yeah, it's funny because I have the ability to see who opens up my emails. So over the course of the weekend, my friend who runs the agency that I worked with and did stuff back and forth, all of a sudden I saw he opened up an email of one of my Hot 100s that we had worked on. This email is at least 3 years old, but I didn't dig deeper than just gave me a smile on my face. But yeah, that's the thing. It's again, it's about relationship. You got to start with who you know when you're connecting with them. So, in some ways, yes, calling your aunt and uncle, they may need insurance. They may need whatever you're selling. That's great. A lot of times they don't or they haven't already. And at least sometimes as practice those phone calls. I got something in the mail I have a son who's a sophomore, and here's a great thing for him to do during the summer. And I found it interesting because another friend of ours, his son, I guess, said yes to that. It was a company is Cutco. So you're selling knives over the phone. And I met with him 7, 8 months ago for him to give me the pitch on the knives just to give him practice on the call. But those are opportunities as well that could work out well if you have the right network, if you have the right opportunities.
Yeah. Okay, I have a cousin and he did a Cutco with us. You can't do Cutco over the phone. You have to do it in person with a demonstration and show the merchandise and cut a
The
tomato or a piece of paper. You
the
can't.
kid did it over Zoom, so at least I was able to see what he was talking about.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but that was a lot of stuff that I was doing. I was running the show in Brooklyn. I wrote the scripts for the game. I did booked the national anthems. I booked all the performers. All the entertainment that went on during the game. I scripted and planned, and I sold those sponsorships over the course of the year in advance of the season.
That must be really hard to do minor league baseball when you can't really build a fan base over a player because if he's any good, he's not there next year. And you have no clue what kind of a crop of players you're getting. So you have to. What was the emphasis? Can't be on player quality.
The emphasis when we did it was where we were bringing baseball back to Brooklyn. So
Okay.
we nothing was easy, but we had it pretty good. We had connections to the Brooklyn Dodgers. We ended up having probably 30, 40, 50 old Brooklyn Dodgers come by the stadium at different times. I wrote a script for a speech given where we honored Duke Snyder and we did some notable players. I had a relationship with Gil Hodges' wife, um, who would be at the ballpark for a lot of things all the time. We also were owned by the Mets. So our coaching staff were the 86 Mets. Howard Johnson, Tim Tuffle, Mookie Wilson, Bobby Ojeda. Roving instructors were Gary Carter and Darryl Strawberry. So bringing that in was a big thing. And also basically what you're selling is affordable family fun. It is cheap tickets. You try to keep the food in as cheap as possible. It's really changed since I was working 20 plus years ago in minor league baseball with the pricing and everything. But you can still get cheap tickets. We have AAA, the Marlins AAA here in Jacksonville, and so like I don't know. We won the national championship last year. I have no idea who's on the team this year. I've yet to go to a game. I mean, I used to be a season ticket holder at Yankee Stadium, so I'm obsessed with baseball and but you're selling the team and the fun and the experience at the ballpark and just the love of baseball and who you might see at this stage of the game. So when the Cyclones were short season A, like we think these are kids right coming out of college, but I saw Hanley Ramirez and Robinson Cano and Scott Kazmir, and later on Alonso came through the Cyclones, and you see these people develop. I was shocked. I saw the list of the top five possibles for Cy Young in an ESPN article, and Max Meyer, who pitched for the Jumbo Shrimp only a couple of years ago, is pitching very well for the Marlins. So you're going there for fun and you're having access to the future.
We have the Hudson Valley Renegades near us,
Very familiar with them.
and I have Josh Hamilton's autograph on a layaway that he purchased at my store. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, you would have to do it as family fun, affordable fun. We're doing fireworks every Friday night or that kind of stuff. You can't base it on here's our star player, because if he's really a star, he's not there next week.
And it depends also on your affiliations. Now the Renegades saying we're showing you the Yankees of the future. So with that being a Yankee affiliate, there is a very big draw as opposed to it was the Rays for the longest time. It was the Rangers and then the Rays, because I had a lot of friends on that staff in different times in Hudson Valley, and I was at the stadium 2 or 3 times over the course of different eras.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed it. You learn a lot. You do a lot of things that you never expected to. I remember the first time it's raining and I'm pulling tarp on the field and I have the biggest smile on my face. This is the coolest thing ever. I can't believe this. And every other time after that sucked equally, because then you realize how terrible it was, and the infield clay jumping up at you, and now it's staining your khaki pants. You can't get it out, and you're soaking wet, and depending on how hard it's raining, you have to go faster and faster with the process. You may have to do it a few times during a game because the team that you're playing is never coming back that season. So you have to make sure you try to get the game in. We also had the problem in Brooklyn that we sold out every game. So if there was a rain out and we had to figure out how to do rain checks for people, it was virtually impossible. So there were very late nights that we stayed at the ballpark to finish the game so that we didn't have to give people alternate tickets.
Do you give them paper rain checks or their virtual rain checks?
You can take the ticket and exchange at the box office. I remember one game. How do we do it? It was a day night. It was a double header, but it wasn't a split. The reason why it stands out in my head is this was the biggest promotion that I worked on, and it rained. I got press releases, and I was in articles in about 70 newspapers around the country. It was honeymooner night, and I got sponsored by TV Lands, and Trixie was still alive and she was coming out to throw out the first pitch, and we had all these different things planned, and all this video, and I worked my ass off, and then it poured and the game got rained out. And then 3 weeks later, as part of a doubleheader, we did it. We put the pieces on, but it wasn't the same.
Ugh, I'm sorry.
It's baseball. So if you ever watch Bull Durham, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it rains.
And as John Sterling says to Susan Waldman, that's baseball, Susan.
Hmm. Exactly.
Wow. So, but yes, one can be, I realize I'm jumping around again. I'm sorry. One can be very, very successful in their career in sales. And it just means that you have to pick the right product that excites you, the company that excites you. I know that in the jewelry business, a lot of these salesmen, it's like, okay, you're a baseball person. When Alvin Dark and Leo DeRocha were managing, and it was like they were playing musical chairs, going from team to team.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, the salesmen sometimes do this kind of thing. The Seiko salesman today is the Citizen Watch salesman tomorrow. So
You find an industry you're comfortable with, and then you kind of try to find the right place to be in the process. You may be selling insurance for State Farm and it's miserable, but you move to Geico and you're the happiest person in the world. But it's really trying to find, I think when you're young, going back to people coming right out of school, you you the best opportunities are when you're very lucky. And I say that because sometimes you fall into a situation where someone ends up becoming a mentor for you early on. Like I had that at Westwood One Radio. Someone I was fortunate to sit across from, and I learned a lot from him in the process, and he helped me out along the way. And it's important for that because you go in. There are schools now in their business school program that do teach sales. Like my son just he's doing a year abroad, but pretty much his choices when he comes back are going to be Indiana and Florida State. And when we went to Florida State in their business school, they have programs that if you're in high school and you said, I'm I want to be an insurance salesman and I'm going to go to school, and you're in the business program at Florida State, you can learn how to sell insurance as part of your major or real estate. And there's a third one there. My niece got a job. She did a sales program there, the general one, and she works for a liquor company selling a wine and spirits to bars and restaurants in Nashville. A great situation for her. But more often than not, SUNY Albany, they didn't teach you how to sell anything. They didn't teach you how to be a business owner for anything. That was one of when I was doing business coaching. That was the problem. People didn't learn how to be a business owner. You learn how to be an employee in college, and that's you have to figure out what you need to figure out to be able to implement things as a business owner in this business you've decided to go create a life around. I spent years. I finally wrote a book and put it out beginning of this year, going back to some of my business coaching focuses called Small Business Owner 101, the course you were not taught in college, but it goes through all the different aspects of every single point you need to check off as you're building your business. But in sales, you want to find something that's going to interest you, and you may strike out your first couple of times. That also why something like sales coaching is valuable, because here's an opportunity after school to learn how to be a coach, to learn how to be a salesperson and learn how to put the right systems in and learn about time management and learning the best way to prospect and ask the right questions. And if you have to make cold calls, how are you going to, once you get someone to pick up the phone, how are you going to keep them on the phone to get to the point of the conversation that you want to have with them? So it's the truth is everything is teachable and learnable. You do have those people who have the personalities that will get them as far as they can before they actually learn a thing or two. But a lot of people who go into sales don't have that personality. You really have to figure things out.
yeah, I had a pen company they did pens, and their thing was to tell you a joke. He says, "I'm going to tell you a joke, and then I'm going to sell you pens." And there were corny jokes, but that was their shtick.
Yeah, if once you can start a rapport with somebody, it can be very, very helpful. One of the techniques that we use is try to make people uncomfortable as possible at the beginning of the phone call. So if they say hello, I say, hi Joe, this is Howard Wolpoff, and then I stop talking, and then I wait a little bit, and then now their brain is spinning. Do I know him? How do I know him? Where do I know him from? Why is he? And then I laugh. I said, don't worry about it. We have not had a chance to meet yet, and it's it loosens up the conversation. And so if they've giggled or laughed a little bit, now you have this opening to start walking through and have a conversation, ask for for a moment of their time to talk about what you need to talk about.
So cold calling and versus in-person selling is different,
Yes.
and you teach the different ways that should be followed.
Well, the answer is yes. The biggest difference with it is that I can easily hang up the phone mid-word on you if based on my mood or based on my interest.
Right.
If someone walks in front of you, they can't do that. Um, I had a place that I did a deal with when I was working at this sports radio station that he had a big sign, no solicitors. Then he had some line underneath it. I don't remember, but it was very intimidating. And I had a client who was next door. So one day I said, screw it. I'm going to walk in and see what happens. So we start talking. We hit it off. Thankfully, it was about sports and the talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we start getting in. So I asked him. I go, I appreciate you having the conversation. I do believe I'm a little shocked because of the sign you have on the door. He goes, "Oh, that sign." He goes, "That sign is to scare everyone away who doesn't have the balls to walk in." I'm like, okay, let's keep talking.
There you go.
Yeah. So that he just clears it out and then hope that then it really is a limit of the amount of people he has to make decisions whether he wants to have the conversation with.
Sure. It's funny when I go to the doctor's office and then I see these very attractive people with these traveling suitcases, and they're late taking me in for my appointment. And I just look at them and I say, detail man. They're a good looking late 20 something, and they're selling the doctor on a new drug or a new something or other.
Yes, there's a type and then there's a system. So the type is um, easier to figure out because you say yes or no whether they're the type or not. But it's now here's a system of the conversation you want to have when you go to these places and create these relationships and nurture this and hopefully I, there's ways that they create the statistics that they need to know that I've been the one going to Dr. Brown all this time, and Dr. Brown's sales have gone up 300% because they've counted based on the prescriptions that have been the pads that have been filled that I get credit or bonus for it. But yeah, that's really a very interesting industry.
And because my cousin was a detail man for Ciba Geigy when it was just Geigy.
Okay.
And I know that they go for these weekend long or week long seminars on the drug that they're selling. And they test these people. You really have to know about the merchandise that you're selling, whereas other people that have sold me things don't know anything about the merchandise they're selling.
hmm That goes down to the training of how you're trained. So if you're again, they're not teaching people how to sell, but if you're selling if you're selling radio commercials, you would hope that the person that's selling it has an understanding of the difference between the 30-second and the 60-second and what happens when so okay, now sign a contract. What happens next? How to get the commercial recorded, where to get the what happens with it once you receive the commercial. There's a lot of details that if I come in saying, well, it's great, thanks for the contract, someone else will figure it out with you. I have no idea what happens next. It's very off-putting and very concerning that you're not going to get the results for this investment, sometimes very heavy investment, depending on what market you're in. That because I worked in New York, and that's the biggest market in the world, and just a 30-second radio spot on a radio station can be very, very expensive. Could be more than some of the salary that they pay some of their front end people for one commercial. And then in the Jacksonville, Florida, the 48th market, things are more affordable, $70 for a commercial at different times of the day, from what I remember from when I was at the station 10 years ago. I'm sure it's much higher now.
And as the person who's being sold, I find that very frustrating. What do you mean you don't know what the next step is? Well,
Hmm.
my boss will call you and then we'll go from there. And it's like, no, I don't like this. You need to know what you're talking about, person.
Yep. So that goes back to systems. You have to have the right systems in place, and people have to know all the different possible questions that someone's going to ask them when they're out talking to a client, or even more so a prospect. At least there's some level of trust with the client because they've said yes, and hopefully they've received some value, but the prospect received nothing. It's all building trust.
So when you do the seminar, do you need to know this information, or does the somebody at the company explain to them what the procedures and the logistics are?
If I'm working with a sales leader to try to get their team to invest in sales coaching, I'm the one that's giving the workshop. I'm the one that's meeting with the sales leader. I'm the one that's answering questions individually with the sales team. I'm the one that's calling in advance to make sure the sales team is going to be there and has a better understanding of what to expect in advance of that. If I'm working with the company where we're selling them different types of trainings, so 2-day trainings, so I will let them know very upfront someone else is going to be giving that training, and I'll make all I'm the one making the connection, so I'll introduce you to Joe, who's going to come in, but it's a different structure that I don't I that I that's not part of what I do because I'm spending all my time with these with individually with the companies.
So
And
when
then
you
I'll
work with the sales, I'm sorry.
and then I'll coach a good amount of these people, or we'll match them up with someone around the country who is a better personality fit.
Okay. So that I'm assuming that those are one-on-one as opposed to you working at 8 o'clock every other Wednesday with the entire sales team.
Correct. A lot of trainings could be like that, and we have people that will go and do those. But I will coach people one-on-one. So whether like I have someone who I sold and I'm coaching, and she's in Jacksonville, Florida, like me, but we meet over Zoom and we meet over Teams anyway. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I have people. My, my favorite was a financial planner in Alaska, and I was just blown away with because he had a window behind him. So even though it was 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning that we're having a conversation in Alaska, 1 o'clock for me on the East Coast, it was still dark. And as we'd had the conversation, it started to get lighter, and I'd make sure, okay, we're focusing on the conversation, but I'm enjoying watching the light appear out in Alaska that late in the morning.
That's cool. Okay. Now, if you don't want to answer these questions, just let me know. What is the most amount of money that you made in sales?
My best year in sales, I made, rounding it, slightly over $250,000.
Oh, wow.
That
And
was
what was, I'm
that was
sorry.
in national radio sales.
Okay. And what was your first year in sales? I'm assuming that that was your lowest.
My first year in sales was with the Brooklyn Cyclones baseball team. I was salaried, and there was salary, no commission. But let's just put it this way: salaries for minor league teams is very cost effective for those teams' budgets. I made $30,000 that year.
That was
I
in
think that was
92?
that was no, that was 2001 with the Brooklyn Cyclones selling.
Okay.
I ran I when I worked at Chelsea Piers, I ran member services. So I was the next step after the sale. So we said before, well, I sold it to you, someone else is going to call you. My department was the one that dealt with then all the billing and all the other situations. So I was managing the membership base of 7,000 plus members that we had there. But it was a team of people that would sell them, and then I would get annoyed because there are times when I was the manager on duty, and someone come in to finish their contract. So the one that signed up their contract, but I would not get the commission for the deal because whoever met with them first could have had a 5 minute conversation with them, but I spent 45 minutes filling out the contract. They got the commission.
I've heard a lot of stories of salespeople that feel like they've been cheated out of commissions, either
Oh yeah.
because the client called the home office and then the home office says, no, this was a house sale, but it's my client. And then he called you, and I think the home office feels like, yeah, but you didn't do the work. If you would go on to visit him, you made me do this work.
It goes back to relationships. So you want to make sure you create as best of a relationship as possible so they're calling on you. Again, those people that I finished up with, they asked for Joe or Susan, and they didn't walk in and say, I met with someone, but I'm not sure who it was. Never had that issue happen. But if they came in on a Sunday and they were only when I was managing and they were there Mondays for Fridays working, then I get to fill out the paperwork with them.
Okay. What is what does it cost a company to have your firm come in and do sales training? I'm assuming
Well,
there's different packages.
there's different packages of sales training. When it comes to the workshop, it's free. It's a complimentary customized sales training workshop. So if there's sales leaders who are concerned about um, their teams, their revenues, whether the the forecasts are really not to the level that they want them to be, that the pipelines are weak, that they don't have the confidence in the sales teams. I go in and I meet with the sales leader, and we schedule it, whether it's local here or virtually, we can do it, or there are situations where you want someone in the office. We can talk about getting me out there to do a live workshop for you, and then it's the process of people committing to learn and learn about systems, being a coaching client.
Okay. Should a person going into sales have any kind of expectation? And I guess what kind of a person becomes the sales director? Is it the best salesman becomes a sales director because the best salesman may not be the right person to be the sales director?
It's an excellent question,
Thank
and
you.
it really comes to it. At some point, someone really does need to have sales experience, become a sales director. And yes, a lot of times the best salesperson will be asked. The sales director left, and if they want to stay internal, they may go see if they want to get promoted in that way. And sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's not. And it's look again, it's all about relationships as well. When you're doing any type of hiring, you're trying to make your best guess on whether the person you want to put in this position has the right personality for the role, will have the right relationship with the team, will have the right relationship with upper management, and has the skill set to be a leader and a manager, because managing a sales team is very different than being a salesperson. Although you're selling in different ways, because a lot of times, especially with your younger ones, you may go into the sale with them to help them close the deal. With the larger deals, you may be a part of it. And sometimes uh if you're promoted from within, there are some legacy clients you may hold on to just because the relationship's so strong. But you also need to make sure that you're spending your time with managing the pipelines and having a direction and understanding what sales in May means differently than sales in September, and then going forecasting into the next year, because when budgets are starting to be done in October, November. So it's like at the local radio station here in Jacksonville, I was the best salesperson. I got promoted to be the sales director. That was my first sales leadership experience. And that was great. Again, that's what I look back, and I really, had I had some of the training that I have now, I could have made some really challenging sales people on that team, at the very least, good salespeople. Maybe not great, but good. I think the manager was very happy to leave with the team that he had picked because it was not working well, and then I had to deal with addressing those issues with the people who really should find somewhere else to be working, and we brought in the right people. I think that's one of my proudest achievements in anything, is that a good leader is not afraid to hire someone with more skills than them. And I hired two people when I got rid of some of those people on the team. I hired two people who had been sales managers before in different industries, and they brought a lot of wisdom and a lot of energy, because they were having fun selling sports radio commercials as opposed to what they were doing before. And we really built things. We had just gotten the contract to be the flagship radio station for the Jacksonville Jaguars, which we've been dying to get, and thankfully the station still kept it to this day. And it really gave a lot of opportunity, and I helped me a lot more knowing that I had two people that I could not just rely on and go do your thing or just check the numbers, but they're sounding boards. I can go back and say, hey, what do you think about this idea? Or hey, I got this newbie on the staff, and this is a challenge. What do you think? It's not everyone has that personality. That some people are the person that I um, replaced could never do that. He'd be threatened every day, thinking that they were out to get him. But there are the personalities that it works for.
Okay. Did anybody from TEP have anything to do with any part of helping you build that career?
No, I'd run into people in different situations. I ran into a lot of people in TEP they'd come as a fan at the Cyclones games for me to be walking around the stadium and see them. But I've had different conversations about in people have come to sell to me. I've gone to sell to them of people from my era from SUNY Albany, but no, no one was part of my path in my career.
Okay. Are you happy with the career you carved out, or did you say, I missed that opportunity, I should have gone in that direction, or wow, this is great, I really love this?
The Tampa Bay Rays just changed their ownership in this last 12 months, and they brought on a CEO. The guy's name is Ken Babby. And Ken was the owner of the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp for about 9 years. He owned another team in Akron, Ohio. And the people that he bought the team from owned it for 25 years. They were very old school baseball owners, and they thought they had the greatest show on turf, and it was really boring. The games were really boring. And Ken came in and brought all this energy and affordable family fun. And we started up a relationship pretty early. And he took me out to dinner once. And at some point, I paused in the dinner and started laughing. It's like, what are you talking about? I said, you ruined my career. He goes, what did I do? He goes, well, the only reason I play the lottery is to win enough money to buy this baseball team. And you bought the team when there was finally the opportunity, not giving me a chance to win and do it myself. And we got a good laugh out of it because just to win the lottery is quite an achievement of pure absolute luck, not
Yes.
skill. But given the opportunity and the money, I would have loved to own the baseball team here and just run it for the rest of my life. And of course, now he had to sell the team to somebody else to be able to go be the CEO of the Rays. So I've missed my opportunity twice here in Jacksonville.
So is there anything else that you think that we should talk about or that you want to point out to the undergraduates?
I think that they don't know that they're already selling once they're involved with the fraternity. So when you have Rush, on the one hand, the members of the fraternity are trying to convince others on the campus community to become members of the fraternity, have an interest in them, and the same those prospects are checking out others as well. So in some ways, you have to sell them on the benefits of being a member of TEP, and that's selling right there. If you are depending on the campus, on our campus, this goes back quite a while, we would they really weren't fraternity houses, so we'd have parties at like social halls and VFWs, and we'd be selling tickets to make money and get people to come to the event. So it was publicizing it and the ticket sales and all the aspects of planning an event like that. They're selling right there. There's a lot of time management and managerial decisions made into being the social chair of a fraternity and making sure those pieces happen. There's a lot of negotiation when it comes to doing different events with sororities, was to find the right one that there's the comfort zone and trying to find the right piece with. So like I learned a ton. I did a lot of did charity events with the American Cancer Society when I was in college with TEP. I did a couple of them, very very different ones that I learned a lot about creating events and selling them to the community. Rush, we were the story with our chapter is they started a TEP chapter at Albany. Let's say I got to school, dating myself to in the fall of 1987. I believe in some point in 1985, they were given a charter for a chapter. And then at some point during the fall term of 87, the brothers decided they didn't want to be a fraternity anymore. And there were 5 pledges, one of which was my roommate. And there were about 3, 4 brothers that voted against folding, and the national didn't want them to go away. So someone was contacted, or they contacted national. We started up the chapter almost immediately with a new set of founding fathers and the existing members and this pledge class. And so that really made us the worst fraternity on campus. We were like what is they were so bad they didn't want to be a fraternity anymore, and who are these guys? So we kind of look, a lot of marketing. We rebranded. So instead of, even though the letters didn't change, instead of calling ourselves TEP for the first 2 years, we were TE Phi to shake things up. And by the time that I was a freshman, that happened. By the time I was a senior, we were the best fraternity on campus. We won Greek Week. We did all these different this charity event that I ran for 2 years was a huge hit by the second year. It's all about really figuring out momentum, because look, you'll figure out that the demographics change every year on campus, and because of that, you can really reinvent yourself every year and find different opportunities to whether grow as an individual on the board of the chapter or as a member or just as a chapter altogether. So it's a fraternity uh, is a great piece of your college experience as long as it's a piece of your college experience that you're focusing on your classes and your grades and what comes next because the world is very different than it was when I was in college. Most people there are campuses that force you to pick your major your freshman year. There are those who walk in knowing exactly what they want to do. There are many people like me who on my campus at that point had no idea what you want to do and still might not. I didn't figure out what I wanted to do until second semester senior year. And at that point, I wasn't staying in school longer to change my degree. And I went out to do volunteer work in marketing and sales to create a path for myself, as opposed to starting all over with what was communications at the time. And just and I took my political science degree and ran.
So your life would have been easier if you had taken either a business degree or a communications degree.
My path probably would have been easier. I probably would have been focused on internships in a different way. So I didn't do any internships when I was in college. Um, that would have helped in the trajectory of making the relationships to get an offer of some type of job. Um, Now there's a lot of companies that will come to campuses to recruit students where they did not do it in my day. So knowing what you want and building that resume and those relationships can be very important in that process. So it's you have to look at, I say this now with a sophomore and one on the way, you really have to look at school as a business path as opposed to and take full advantage of everything socially on campus as well within reason because it's things move a lot faster for you if you are focused on what you want to do moving forward and join the right clubs to so if you want to go work in the business world the business clubs that bring in speakers and networking events and is very important to take advantage of freshman, sophomore year, not just second semester, senior year, where you might really miss a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. I wish for my own children that their summer jobs were internships as opposed to either fun or making more money because as you just stated, it's very short term.
Mhm.
So, so maybe you get a job making $5,000 for the summer and the internship would have been $1,000, but that internship is going to help you for the rest of your life, not the $5,000 working as a camp counselor.
I worked as a camp counselor of all my years in college. And after I graduated, a couple of years later, now we started to develop a alumni association. And someone said the same thing. We can't risk losing our counselors, but these kids need internships. So they create a situation where living in New York, you were getting out of school at the beginning of May and didn't have to go to camp until the end of June. So you can get a 5-week, 6-week internship which on paper looks the same as a 2-month internship at a law firm at some corporation. And so the alumni was saying, I'll take somebody, and we started to give these kids opportunities so they can do that, and then June 19th go to staff week and start working in camp for 8-9 weeks.
That's really great.
Yeah, it was good to have that kind of a balance. It doesn't work so well here in the South where I'm in Jacksonville and where like kids go to the same camp organization that I did, but they get out like my daughter's still in school and she'll get out of school on I think Monday, and then she's on a bus to camp on Wednesday because the with camp has to be over by July 31st so that the kids in Georgia can start school the first week of August. So it doesn't work great for the college kids. It's really just my son is going on tomorrow to fly to Georgia for staff week. So he graduated from high school this weekend. So there's no window there, and it doesn't work. But in New York, it still works, and they still do that.
That's a fantastic program that somebody came up with. Are they still doing that today?
Yes, to my knowledge, yes.
Well, that's great. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. And I
Great.
really appreciate so many people just stumble into sales and to actually take a an educated and don't, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So it just makes more sense to just there's so many different kinds of sales jobs and to if one can do it, learn to do it correctly, it would just make such a difference.
Very, very true. And it's easy to learn how to do this. And like I role play with my clients all the time with how to develop these skills. And the one of the best things that Southwestern Consulting does is we really make it cost efficient for people to get this type of coaching. Great when the company pays for it, but even if you're paying for it for yourself, it's a good inexpensive investment in yourself that will give you a career's worth of value that you can turn that investment into a great return on investment for decades to come.
So people can contact your firm independently and get this sales training.
I deal with people one on one all the time, having the conversation about getting sales coaching.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you very much as I interrupted myself. It's been a pleasure and it's been informative and I thank you very much for coming on to this and um can the undergraduates get in touch with you through LinkedIn if they have any further questions?
The best place to reach me is LinkedIn. Uh, Howard WOLP as in Peter, OF as in Frank, F as in Frank. And I'm very active. I'm on there all day, beeping every day. So please feel free. I'm more than happy to answer questions to help anyone that needs.
Well, thank you very much. You have a great day.
You too as well. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Bye-bye.